What's going on there, YouTube? So by now, I hope you're picking up what I'm laying down here. I am making some metal reinforcements for the Awesome Designs Rat Rod Grill so that it will A, hold the servo, and B, not flop around wildly and attach to these funky angles that I made the front of the chassis. So, let me pull this back out of here. I was just doing a little test fit before I turned the camera on. This is the JD model heavy equipment mini valve servo. This is the same servo that I put on the RC 4-wheel drive Rat Rod giveaway. As far as I know, these are still available through RC 4-wheel drive. I bought this one after that build, so it was still there. It was fantastic on that thing. Plenty of power, nice and quiet and smooth, and tiny. So I actually did not have to do a whole lot of modifications to the grill to fit it in that opening in the bottom. Those tractor grills had a cutout there that was almost the right size for that. I just had to widen it 2mm from top to bottom, and then I had to, of course, strap all this metal on it. But so on the bottom, I drilled some holes because it's not a very strong part of the grill to mount the screws, and I went ahead and went with standard 3mm scale hardware because I want the strength. So I made these little metal patch panels, and because they curve with the grill shell, it adds actually quite a bit of stiffness to this whole thing. Reinforces, and plus that's hanging down there on the bottom. When this thing bottoms out, which it inevitably will because the suspension is so soft in the front, which we'll address later most likely, that's going to be hitting the ground. So the holes that I'd made originally were back here. That was another reason for this style design that I did, to try and hide the existing holes because they will not work. I need to move the grill back in order to have room in front of it for the servo horn and the linkage and all that between the front axle and the grill. So, and also it looked better. It was a little bit too far away from the RC4 drive V8. Also, I just remembered I still have put that water pump on that motor. Says once we mount the grill, we'll be ready to run radiator hoses behind it. I doubt I will put anything in there. I usually just use some brake line, shove that radiator hose on both ends of it, and mount it inside of there so it holds both ends of the hose, and call it good, because A, we don't want any more weight up front because we're already going to be maxing out our king hauler shocks at that angle that they're at. But so on the back side of that, I used some little metal plates that I made just to help reinforce the where the hardware is. It's pretty sturdy. I think it's going to be plenty so long as the side brackets hold up. Now what I've done here, I have matched the bracket to the angle of the frame. And this is going to be our bolt hole. Our upper shock mount is going to bolt all the way through the grill shell and have a nut on the inside, just like it was. But it is now further forward, and it was going between two of the ribs on the grill. so it wasn't going to be sturdy at all. So we had to reinforce that. There's a 16 gauge steel, I think. It's pretty thin, but still strong enough that I think it'll hold a small servo turning some tiny tires. In order to brace that to the to the grill, I used some tiny scale bolts. I had drilled 6, but that one is not going to clear because of our shock mount. So we've got five in there, pretty good. The trick is with this, it's going to bolt up there, and then these are going to bend out. And I'm going to bend them out so much that they sit directly inside of the C-channel of the frame. And it should keep the grill from pivoting on that upper bolt. And hopefully it'll all jive and work nice. It's not tested. It's just a theory I developed while cutting sheet metal. I actually cut my finger, but anyway, let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's the other end of that. You can see the C-channel frame that I made out of 1/2 inch square tubing cut in half. So it's going to bolt up there, and then those angled pieces will extend away from the grill and into that C-channel, and hopefully keep it from moving. So I think that's all I've got left to do, is go ahead and put that on. I need to make sure these bolts here are long enough to still get through all this, and I think I'm going to have to extend them. Alright guys, so I got the electronics installed here. I went ahead and put windows in the back just because I was waiting on a battery charge. Yeah, so now we've got to figure out the battery situation. I had an idea, I'm not sure how it's going to work. I've got this piece of seat cover here I'm using, and I've got some of the hard rubber from the RC 4-wheel drive axle packaging that I used for windows. So I thought about making a battery / seat cover that just sits on the battery, and it looked like a little bench seat covered in that material. But I don't know how it's going to set in the car, so I need to do some mocking up. One thing I don't like that I have done is my motor wire situation. With the Scale V8, the motor wires barely stick out. The leads were short on this. This is the Tamiya Can Motors factory leads. I would rather them have been long so I could route them down the frame and then into the body. So I've had to notch my firewall and bring the wires through there, and it's going to be a lot going on right there, so I'm hoping it doesn't cause any issues. I remember way back I had an issue trying to get this copper firewall to mount to the body. It's got every kind of glue known to man on it, holding it in. It's still a little loose, but you know, I know people hate it when I say it, but because rat rod, we're just going to roll with it. Same with the servo wire. It's not really attached. It's just run alongside the motor. And hopefully it'll reach to where I need it to reach. I'm not going to get to the engine details in this video. This is just running, driving. We're going to take it out and hopefully get a test run, see how it does, see how the steering is. Kind of troubleshoot some stuff if there's any issues. The next video on this, hopefully everything runs and drives fine. Then we'll get back to the Scale V8 and we'll finish up all the details, the headers and all the bolts and the plug wires and the whole 9 yards, the water pump, all the stuff I don't want to mess with right now because it takes a very steady hand and you got to be in the right frame of mind for that stuff. So, let's see. I'm not even sure if the battery will fit across right there. No, it won't. So, dang. There goes my plan. Motor, battery, what connector needs to be on this side? Oh, it'll fit. maybe. Oh. It's going to be snug. So I'm going to do some finagling here. Alright guys, so inside's a mess, but I just got rubber bands. I don't have any of the straps or anything really to mount that yet. I know I need to go to lipos. I actually was talking with a company. They messaged me about sending me at least a battery for something, and I guess they forgot. Never heard back from them. They approached me about it, so I don't know what the deal was with that. But yeah, definitely tired of trying to stick packs in these rat rods. So who knows? But in the meantime, I've got everything hooked up. I just binded the radio. So let's see what happens here. Got the steering. Oh. Really? My steering is backwards. I can't see what's going on the receiver there, so I guess I've got the plugs backwards. Didn't think I did, but we've got throttle steering. So we swap that out. Looks like I got everything squared away. Set all my trims to 0 and align the servo now. I hadn't put the little screw in the end yet. Always wait and do that now so I can take it on and off pretty easily. I'm worried about my steering link. It's pretty fragile, but we'll see. Just have to be delicate with driving it. At least it's easy to get to. Just move the suspension down, screw it in. Really need to find or maybe 3D print different servo horns that can move out a little bit away from the servo. That would help me a lot in a lot of my builds, because I need the servo flush with stuff, but I might need a little bit more extension on it. And you know, like eventually I still would like to build a rat rod with a wide enough front axle to put the servo on the driver's side of the cowl and have a link, but they're not, the shaft's not long enough to reach out. So that little servo has got some oomph to it. Got a little bit of side-to-side movement, but that comes with these long 129mm links that we use for the radius arms. So yeah, I think we're ready to take it outside. I'm going to go ahead and throw the headers back on just because I want to see it. So it looks funny driving around with open heads. But yeah, we'll tow it out to the concrete area with the Winnebago and see if we can load it and unload it off the trailer. It may be too low. It's probably going to catch on the trailer. But this one screw right here on the R4 I hate, because that thing always sticks down too low. And I could have mounted the motor higher and everything, but it always works out with that hanging down below the frame. And if I ever actually drive these things a lot, I'll probably knock that sucker right off, or bend it, or screw up the whole thing. But battery should be alright. It's wedged in between the body very tightly. I do need to tilt it so it's not hitting the drive shaft. If I can here. I think, I didn't do it yet. I think my idea for a seat out of the battery, I think that'll work, because the bottom of the battery is about halfway up the door. So I think it'll look alright. I did cut a piece of the foam to make a back, but I haven't figured out how to attach it all yet. And I had some issues with the front body mount. I had just magnets, rare earth magnets, mounted to this old Bruiser front piece, so I just had one up there. And the one glued to the body, of course, the magnet one, it came off, so that's drying still currently. So hopefully that holds. I don't want to have a whole lot of body movement. I got the back body mounts in, and yeah. I did swap the steering servo wire over to this side. Got a little bit more room on it. I had a hole here I could actually zip tie, but that's the only one. I do need to put another hole in the frame here so I can secure it. But it should be alright. You know, I like to drive these in the gravel. I considered making a skid plate here for the servo. Worry about that little guy. Yeah. Anyway, let's load it up and take it out. Alright guys, so it was a pretty good success. He had a couple little issues, other than getting it all dirty. These tires are pretty hard, so they do a fair bit of spinning. My front lugs hung on, my back one. These wheels have a, if you ever had any wheel wideners, you've got these kind of nuts here. And this one came loose there at the end. So many donuts, and the wheel was still on there and it didn't fall off and I didn't lose anything. It just had slid out and was no longer spinning both wheels, just one. So probably put a little bit of a blue Loctite on those. Why is it not biting? Unless we have a bigger problem here. Something's fishy. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's just needs a little Loctite on it. Needs a little Loctite love. But man, it actually drives pretty well. It's useless on anything but pavement because of the slicks. It does have a little bit of ground clearance, so it could take gravel, but it's not going to do well with the slicks. Not going to be like the farm truck is when it's bombing down the gravel road with its all-terrain tires. So, but I started getting a feel for it driving it. It has enough speed. It could use a little bit faster motor, but it's got enough speed, and you just there's no drag brake set on that speed controller, so you just hit the brake and then gas it immediately, and it would immediately start swinging the back end around. So that was very handy for donuts. Didn't break anything. The battery stayed put. The body stayed put. Worked pretty well. The steering was actually fantastic. That little servo again is up to the challenge of doing what these rat rods need. The mount and stuff didn't do any damage, and I'm sure if I, running wide open and I hit something with the tire being open wheel, it probably will jam the servo and break the grill and do all kinds of mess. But just a big open area, kicking some donuts and stuff like that, it's a blast. So if you haven't been following along, check out the older build videos. It's RC 4-wheel drive scale V8 with the R4 trans. One of their Punisher shafts, I think might be. Yeah, it's one of the Punisher shafts. Yoda 2 rear end, Tamiya can motor, Hobby Wing quick run ESC, nothing fancy at all. The little servo was probably the most high-end part that's on there. Those JD model parts from RC 4-wheel drive. The front suspension actually worked pretty well. I stiffened up, put more spring inside and the smaller springs on the lower end of the shock shaft, kind of similar to what I did on the farm truck, and it actually worked pretty well. The rear has got those little coilovers, and it's got plenty of cushion. It's got a squeak. I think it's one of the front wheels squeaking. It's alright though. It's not a big deal. I'm pretty happy with it. And I did want to show y'all something real quick. Yeah, I've got these grills. This is a design that Awesome Designs made for me. It's a Farmall tractor grill, and I bought a real one. So here's a picture of that. I went antique shopping. I'm looking for stuff for the rest of the finish the scale garage, find the wood, find more details. Still no luck on the wood, but I ended up buying a real Farmall tractor grill, and for now it's just going to have to reside on the wall, but in the future I do hope to build a real rat rod, and that is the first piece of the puzzle for me, I guess. But big cars, big money. So anyways, I appreciate y'all watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Follow along on Instagram and Facebook. In the next installment on this, we will detail out the motor. One issue I forgot, I had to take the distributor off, the RC 4-wheel drive distributor, because my motor wires are in the way. So I'm not 100% sure yet how to get around that. I've been working for a few hours just to get this thing running, so hadn't really thought about it much today. So that'll be a battle for the next video. Try to get the plug wires on, change out the water pump, run our radiator hoses, and maybe weather the headers. I'm not sure yet. But let me know what y'all think in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and keep it scale. I'll see you on the next one.